How are we all going, folks? How are we all going? Yes, we're going to be having a look at some new comics that have just come in the last week or so. So stay tuned for some very, very awesome things and comic book goodness, some old ones as well, and let's get into it. So the first comic that we've got on today is Patrolman Weeks Suspended. The classic, I would say it's a classic Antonio sort of cover, and yeah, that's what it looks like. If you can see it, what it looks like, and we're going to be doing some bag and boarding. There's old, I would say that's old, yeah, 2002. Me saying that's old, like, yeah, me saying that's old, like, yeah, 2002. If you want to talk about something or have a discussion about anything to do with the Phantom, I am all ears. I would love to, pretty much. Yeah, and we've got some good old music in the background. Tonight we have on tonight we have on Digging in Brooklyn, Disco and Soul with it's yeah. So shout out to my analog journey, which is basically our audio and our music tonight. Comment down below if the music is too loud, I'll turn it off. That's all. If you are joining us live on this live stream, what what do you think of the latest Phantom story that's happening in the dailies right now? I reckon I've been I've been posting about it on Facebook, and a lot of people I think in the last couple of weeks have been appreciating what the dailies that I've been posting on the Facebook groups, the Phantom Facebook groups, and the Phantom Cave official Phantom Cave page called called Phantom Cave. Basically, like you get tangled up in your own words and you don't even know what you're trying to say. But yeah, anyways, that is Colonel Patrolman Weeks suspended. I'm pretty sure this story is an Egmont story. It would be because I think Egmont stories and segments, Egmont stories and Semic publication stories. I think they started when Few Publications was, I think, starting to publish pretty much Norwegian phantom stories. I think it was around 1989 to I think the early 90s or even the 1990s. That era of the 90s was pretty much filled to the brim with stories that were coming out of Norwegian countries and like stories that were coming out of like the Phantoman series in Norway and other countries. Like they're pretty much the 90s for, I think, few publications was pretty much centered around Scandinavian stories. I would say because I've looked at a few of my stories, a few of the comics that I have in my collection. I've looked at them. Every single time I look at them, you get the feeling that really those Scandinavian stories in the 90s, throughout that decade, were used there fairly often. And I think that also were used fairly often into the 2000s as well. And like every time you may get a new Phantom comic that Few Publications puts out every fortnight, some even not. a lot of them, some of them are more towards Scandinavian stories, and I think in the last couple of years, we've been actually few publications have just the I think few publications with the new team and Glenn Ford and good old Dudley Hogarth and all the crew there. I think that they're doing an amazing job with keeping a sense of variety in what people are actually reading and what people are putting their time into reading the stories. I think it's a great thing. Okay, on to the next one. So what's the next comic? So we've got the disappearance of Prince Rex, and like I got these comics like last week on I think Monday it was last week on Monday, and I was yeah, last week on Monday went to a place that the place is sort of like it pretty much is a small country town. And I went to it. I picked up 68 Phantom comics. Yes, you heard me right there. 68 Phantom comics. Like, where in the world, in a normal, I know like people normally do not say this, but where in the world, for me, am I going to find 68 Phantom comics? And not just 68 Phantom comics. Also, I also picked up five Mandrake and the Magician books, which I feel like the Mandrake Magician books that were also published by few publications, you do not you rarely see the Mandrake Magician books. Like you rarely see them. And I saw them, I grabbed them, I grabbed like five of them, and yeah, I thought it was amazing that I'd actually found a few of the few publications, comics featuring Mandrake the Magician. As we move on, this one I think is Prince Rex has disappeared or something. I'm pretty sure this may be a reprint of a daily. Oh, that's a like you look at these covers that where did this one come from? It was 1996. That's the cover that came out in 1996. 1999. Oh, we're getting triple nines right there. Oh, that's funny. Let's keep it that. And I think many people weren't expecting me to do a live stream tonight. I'm thinking that. Alright, there we have it. Disappearance of Prince Rex. If you can see it, what's the next one? So we got the climax to Cersei's Island. I'm guessing this would have something to do with Egmont or Senate. Yeah, it's a David Bishop story and art is done by Ramondo Feldman or Roy Feldman. And it was originally published by Sonic Egmont slash Egmont in Scandinavian number 20 in 2006. And this book was published in the same year, which was 2006. And this is part two, which is the climax to Cersei's Island. Rightio. Also, I think another thing that no one really has really talked about this week, but I think Chronicle Chamber did a post on it, and I saw it, and I think it's awesome that they're going to be making more shirts and apparel, you could say, apparel, good old word, good old language. But there was Chronicle Chamber made a post about a very, very special thing. So the Phantom is getting the Phantom, I think the people that are making it are by Briscoe or something, and they're a US based apparel company, and they're going to be making some new Phantom shirts and new Phantom apparel for the whole family. But like I saw it on the Chronicle Chambers on Instagram. I think it was some of the old page. Was that? I don't know if it's old page. So what I'm looking at right now is that I've got this comic. I've just about to put it into the bag and board, or about the bag and border, and there's a little flap there. I wonder if it's folded over the other side. I'll have a look and check. I think what I've done here is that it's folded over the back of the last page. One day I'll get more pressing presses to be told, to be yet to be seen. Yes. So I think I'm going pretty well here. Pretty much it had folded over on the other side of the page. So that's the corner of what I just showed, and I've just tried to straighten it all out before I have another go at trying to get this comic book inside the plastic. Okay. The concentration you have to put into try and get this all level and making sure that the comic doesn't fold back out, the thing that I just touched doesn't fold back in over itself. Like what I was saying was that there's this new company that obviously has been going for quite a while, and they've just started to make new Phantom t-shirts and apparel. And that was, I think, there was a post that came or went out on Chronicle Chambers social media and I think website page, their website, and they were talking about how there's this new company, this new clothing store that is going to be making new Phantom t-shirts and apparel. I think it's an amazing and very, very wonderful idea. So that's the comic I just did. The climax to Cersei's Island, and on to the next one. So I have a feeling that I've already got this one, but it's better to have two copies than to have one, isn't it? So we've got the next one is the King of Vegas, and I think it's the climax to no, it's I think either the climax to the Phoenix Reborn series, and that Phoenix Reborn series was originally it's an Egmont story. It was originally first published by Egmont Scandinavia in number 15 of 2006. Well, a lot of stories coming out of Scandinavia were actually published in the same year as again published in Australia. What would you know? What do you know? What do you know? A lot of things, but not a lot of things, but other things not so much. In the 2000s, there must have been in the 2000s, there must have been like if you're reading The Phantom and you're reading it in the 2000s, and Publications, Jim Shepard was still like publishing Phantom comics. You must have like had to. He must have been. He must have been running out of stuff to publish. Like he must have been running out of stories to then publish them in a Phantom comic book. Because if there's like stories that are already been published in other countries, such as Egmont, and such as this one, which this one was published in Egmont, I think number 15 of 2006. If there was stories that were coming out of Egmont, and if there were stories coming out of Egmont, and they were getting published in the same years in Scandinavia, and then they were again coming over to Australia, that would mean that Jim Shepard would have been running out of stuff to pretty much publish. Because if you are then pretty much taking a story from international story and then publishing it in your comic book, and then it's in the same year and you do not have any sort of stories of your own, I think that in some ways it's good because you're still getting a comic book out to fans, but in other ways it's like, but haven't you actually got any things, any comic book or any stories haven't you actually got any stories that that he must have been running out of stuff. What I'm trying to say is he must have been running out of stories or new new stories to then publish. Something must have been happening in the 2000s and in the 90s for that to happen. I think the question that I was just posing has pretty much already been answered because I think from when a few publications started to publish The Phantom back in 1948, I would say until 1989 to the 1990s, you would be seeing a lot of stories being hatched and reprinted heaps and heaps of times. I don't think that if that were to happen up until now, I don't think you would possibly see Australian Phantom comics still being sold in news agencies. I think everything needs sort of a variety of what you're putting out there into the market. And I think that's what Jim Shepard had noticed, and that's why he was publishing other stuff that people may or may not have already seen before. So I think big kudos to Jim Shepard for doing that. I think it takes a lot of heart and braveness to go away from doing something that's been done in the past a lot of times and trying something new. I think that's all. That's with everything. Yes, that's with everything you do. Oh, what was that one? That was Death at the Fun Park. So yeah, and that one came from 2005. 2005, eh? 2005. Oh yes. So this next comic book is a new story. It's Lee Falk's Amazing Phantom, and it came out in 2005. Yes, another 2005 comic, and it also came out before the death at the fun park. There must be something's happening here. Something's doing something. Someone, it's a headlight all thing. Yeah, good old Phantom. And a light all sing. We have to destroy the Sing Brotherhood. JP. Yeah, I'm guessing this also is Egmont's story. I guess also if you're that type of person, you're that type of person that's obviously publishing the Phantom every fortnight, like it has been in the last also many years. If you're that type of person and you're publishing the Phantom fortnightly, and you're then also publishing other stories each fortnight, like newer stories coming out of Scandinavia, and you're doing that, and you're publishing them on a regular basis, and then you're not actually. I think sometimes people get this wrong misconception that if you publish something if you publish that certain thing too many times, then a person may or may not get like there may not be any variety, and sometimes people can take that the wrong way, and sometimes people actually like a bit of reading a bit of new stuff, like reading to fill the catacombs of a person's reading material of their mind. Like that was just me using everyday dictionary words. So yeah, we've got annihilate all sin, destroy the sin brotherhood. So what's our next one? So we have the Servant of Evil, Temple of the Gods Part 4, and this comic book that came out in 2006. That's another 2006 comic book. Look at that. That's amazing. Greatness is happening here. Another thing I think I saw was that it's been popping up everywhere since Chronicle Chamber has been doing also many podcast episodes on the new Phantom video game. Yes, we have a new Phantom fans are going to be having a new video game coming out in 2024, and there's a possibility of that video game coming out in I think June or July next year. And there's also, I think, there's people have been talking about it heaps. I haven't been talking about it because I'm pretty much waiting for all the information to come out so then can do a big long bumper podcast episode interview with everyone. Like with everyone. I would love to do it. I'm going to do that at some stage. Anyway. Um they've been Chronicle Chamber have been doing heaps of stuff on it and like reporting on all the biggest news, reporting on the biggest updates and all that sort of stuff. Servant of Evil, chapter 4, part 4 of Temple of the Gods. But anyway, like, they've been doing heaps and heaps of podcast episodes on that. And one of the things that I saw recently was that Matt Kime, which he is actually going to Supernova Sydney, which I'm also hoping I'm going to Supernova Sydney. He he's doing he's writing or creating or doing stuff for that comic for that video game, and I just think that's you know you already know what I'm gonna say. I just think that's amazing. I said I said that same word so many times. I don't know why, but like yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it was popping all up everywhere, and like obviously Chronicle Chambers been doing heaps of podcast episodes on it, and yeah, I think that with this new video game coming out, possibly coming out in June or July next year, I think yeah, it's pretty much going to be a game changer for everyone, for all Phantom fans, to actually play something that isn't that is of now. Like you next year may be able to play something that is created or made made for a fan. If you're able to play something that has the Phantom on it, that already has the Phantom on it, and you can really get into it, I think it's gonna be amazing, and it's gonna be a wonderful and a great thing that might come in 2024. I hope it comes, because if it doesn't, well, you know I'll be talking about it, and you know I'll be saying something about it on my show. So I hope it happens. And obviously, if this buzz around this video game, and it is going to happen. We'll just have to wait and see, won't we? Like we've been seeing, like Phantom fans, if you're on Instagram or social media or anywhere, if you're even following the Chronicle Chamber website, which is another great resource for Phantom fans to keep up to date with everything Phantom, and you're following that on their social media pages, I think that it's going. I think that I think that they've been sharing lots of behind the scenes images of what's happening in the video game. Like I feel like every time we see something, we get more and more excited about it, and it's going to be great. Okay, what was the one that I just bagged and moored? So we got the first complete printing of the Phantom Classic by Few Publications, and it is the good old it is the Marshall Sisters. This comic book was published in 1996. It was around that time when Jim Shepherd Publications was Jim Shepherd was pretty much publishing pretty much a lot of the things in classics, but in but full. They were finished, they were not cut or censored, and they are just great when you get hold of them, and when you just look at the old classical classic covers, classic Phantom covers. It's just amazing. I'm saying that a lot tonight. Okay, so the next comic we have is the London Underground Murders Part 2, Maniac at Large. Oh, that's a terrifying back cover I'm seeing right here, right now. I'll show you, please. Wait for it. Are you ready? Right, there we go. That's a very terrifying back cover for a Phantom story, for a Phantom book. I'm guessing this has something to do with history. I love my historical Phantom comics. I think we will might go for another 10 or so minutes, and then we might leave it there, and then I might do another live stream maybe tomorrow afternoon. Do some more comics, talk about some more Phantom related stuff. Like I I was going to do this live stream around 7:30 p.m. today, and then I thought, well, hang on a sec. I think I don't think I want to do that at 7:30. Like I don't think I want to be talking out loud at 7:30. Like I think I want to be reading some Phantoms. Like I've got heaps of Phantom comics to read. Like not just only 68 Phantom comics to read, but like I've got a I always have this. I always have a backlog. And I have a backlog that is up to I think the last part, the new fifth part of the Ibis mystery. I haven't even read that. I haven't even read the fifth part yet because I'm going back and I'm reading all of the original 1 to 4 Ibis mystery saga parts, and I'm also I think I'm reading the all of the previous parts to the 22nd Phantom Saga. Yeah. So yeah, I've got a big backlog of Phantoms to read, which is good because that leaves you with time to reading Phantoms and reading things that you might enjoy, which is probably what I'm going to be doing later on. So if you're just joining us, we are looking at the 68. Yeah, over a couple of nights we are like the 68 new Phantom comics that I recently got. So this comic, as I just said, is the London Underground Murders, and it is just the back cover is just terrifying. I think it's just the red eyes that do it. Yeah, so this issue is number 1444 and it was published in 2006. We've had a look at some other comics, like we had the Marshall Sisters on. We had a look at Servant of Evil, Temple of the Guards Part 4, and another comic which was An Light All Sing. Like I reckon if few publications were to publish this story again, this one again, you would seriously get this cover and the things that I'm thinking about right now, if you had to publish this story again, I reckon you would get Alex T. Tripp to do a cover like this. I think he would knock it out of the park. I think there's a whole lot of home runs going on there. I think that it would look amazing. That story. I think that yeah, that probably that probably won't happen for a couple of years, but because that story was, I think, published in 2006. So, and Dudley Hogarth likes to publish stories that have 20 plus year, a 20 plus year, a 20 plus year history. And yeah, I think that also has stuff to do with rarity, but which is good. Always is good. Like I think they've recently published some, a few of the continuing on the series of the 22nd Phantom stories, and a guy that I was just talking about has a new cover out. Spoiler alert. So that's that comic there. And um, so we've got one or two Phantom comics that came out in the last couple of weeks. I'm not going to be showing the newest one that came out because it is it hasn't came out in news agencies, so I might show that out tomorrow after we've all gotten it. So the latest Phantom, pretty much the latest Phantom, the last one that came out 2 weeks ago, it's called Flooded City. And the cover artist for this one is done by the amazing Grange Wallace. I'm a big fan of his art. I am. I'm a big fan of his art. And the story must have something to do with the vultures. I'll get my hand out of the way. So the full essence of this cover. It's an amazing work of art, and I think there we go. Yeah, it's an amazing essence and talent Grange Wallace has. Amazing. And then also we have the Phantom in Vietnam number 6. If like I had an interview, I recorded an interview with Paul Mason a while back. And we talked about his Phantom in Vietnam series that he's been working on over the last couple of years, and that pretty much the latest one that has come out so far is the Phantom in Vietnam Painted Black by Paul Mason. So yeah, and I think he is he's also an amazing guy. Like I was talking to him when obviously I interviewed him and the interview came out a couple of weeks ago. Like I recorded that interview in February. Recorded both the interviews in February actually. I recorded both the interviews in February. He was an amazing person to talk to, both of them. Paul Mason and Douglas Florbar, Mr. Doug. And yeah, they're both amazing people to talk to. And I was wanting to have a chat with both of them for a very long while. And I'm grateful that I've had the chance to talk to both. But anyway, on the point of Paul Mason and his Phantom in Vietnam stories. His stories are I would say, very, very well done. Like his story that was done in as a sequel to the Mark Marvel that we do also talk about in the interview, and how the story came about, what was the backstage stories about the story that was published last year. And his stories are just they there is a uniqueness about them, and they're just different. They're different in a good way, and they're different as in like you would. He said, I think one of the points he said, and I'll quote him for this: "You can put the Phantom in any location, in any Phantom, and any related location. Like you can put the Phantom in a a war type story, and it's going to blow people away. You can literally put the Phantom in any context, in any subject matter, and you can put them. You can put that's the he said that's the flexibility of this character that is the Phantom. You can put him in nearly everywhere. You can put him nearly anywhere, and you can even put him in a good old boxing story, which Lee Falk did a couple of times. He did. So yeah, I think very flexible this character is. The Phantom, very, very flexible. So, yeah, that was Flooded City, and really talking about my my interview, a bit about the backstage past of my interview that I did with Paul Mason, and I hope you enjoyed this first look journey at some comic books that I picked up on the last week, and I think we might just do one more to top off the night with a great success. So this comic book is called The Search for Mu. It's a climax of the band Dark Idol, and this story is number 1658. It was published in 2013. It looks like that. And I think over the next week or so, we're going to be having a couple of new videos come out. They're not going to be interviews as such, but they're going to be some new reviews that are coming out very, very soon. I'm working on a couple of videos at the moment, and it's going to be awesome when they get released. I think one of the videos might have something to do with figurine. Another video might have something to do with a comic book I looked at in the last month or so, and yeah, and a few more of these live streams as well. So if you're wanting some good old fashioned entertainment for your night, or any night for that matter, or any week for that matter, I will be coming out with some new stuff soon, and that was The Search of Mu, the climax of the band Idol. That's a close up of what it looks like. And yes, there will be some new stuff coming out very, very soon. There'll be some new reviews coming out very, very soon, some new comic book related reviews, some more other type merchandise reviews coming out very, very soon, and a whole heap more in the next, I would say, in the next couple of weeks, and more live streams like this in the next couple of weeks as well. So if you enjoyed tonight's look at a part of 68 Phantom Comics, you can always subscribe down there in the subscribe box down below. And if you enjoyed this very, very well established night of looking at Phantom Comics, and I hope you enjoyed it. As always, keep Phantom caving, stay safe, and as always, they'll be all.